Ichigo's son, Kazui Kurosaki, has now arrived. And not only is he insanely broken, but is gonna go to hell alongside his father to fight old allies, enemies, and even the devil of Bleach himself. That's right, Bleach is far from done, as Kubo is cooking a brand new sequel for the series that gives us all the answers, the Hell Arc. But to understand the direction the story is going in, we need to first look at where Bleach originally ended, as after receiving his dual blade Zanpakuto, Ichigo was finally able to reveal his true Bankai, which we never get to see him fully use. You see, Kubo hasn't clarified what this power actually is. The only thing we do know is that it made Yhwach bricks. And I mean literally, because this man has the most busted ability in not only Bleach, but anime as a whole. The power of Almighty, to see into the future and warp it into one that best suits the wielder. Once Yhwach saw what Ichigo was packing and what he could do with it, he pooped his pants and immediately warped reality where Ichigo's Bankai is instantly broken. Like, I don't really blame the guy. Why fight a losing battle, right? But after Ichigo gets his sword restored by the soul of Tsukishima, we still don't get to see his true power. Yeah, rather, he heads back to Yhwach, this time alongside the second strongest character in the series. I'm talking about Renji, of course.
Goku, are you holding your laugh?
After Aizen keeps the Quincy King at bay long enough, and with the help of Ichigo and Renji, Ishida finally fires the Silver Arrowhead, a Quincy weapon created by his grandfather to temporarily nullify Yhwach's power. Ichigo then goes in for the final blow, as his Zanpakuto breaks again to reveal a sword similar to his original Shikai. And it's here where Ichigo kills the King of the Quincy's once and for all, ending the 1,000-year conflict between the Soul Reapers and Quincy's. In the aftermath of the war, the surviving members of Gote 13 begin to rebuild Soul Society, with Sun Sui leading the frontier as Squad 1's captain. Rukia also becomes captain of the 13th Division, whilst our GOAT Aizen is imprisoned once again. But he's seemingly content with his position. He talks about the advantage of having immortal life, which is something ironic to say as an immortal being. But perhaps these words would signify something very important in Bleach's future. From there, we go into the events that takes place in the Can't Fear Your Own World novels, to then the Hell Arc itself. Our story starts 10 years or so later, where the biggest revelation is Renji getting a dub, as he and Rukia would marry and even have a kid, Ichika Abarai.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
Ichika is the perfect mix of her father and mother, having her father's bright red hair whilst having her mother's face. Ichigo, on the other hand, obviously lands Orihime, and two would also get married. They end up having a son named Kazui, who looks almost identical to Ichigo, who is actually just a mini version of our GOAT. But these two kids would meet in the final chapter of Bleach, where it's revealed both are training to become Shinigamis to create the next hit anime, Bleach Next Generation. Okay, I'm taking a piss. But Bleach is putting heavy focus on these two characters, as with the No Breath from Hell one-shot, we learn even more about them and their powers. Despite her young age, Ichika is already a formidable swords master, as she's slowly learning to keep up with her teacher Ikkaku Madarame. She's very reckless and confident, wandering around without her parents' knowledge. Rukia even states that she's prone to get into fights. We can see this when the first thing she does when she meets Kazui is point her Zanpakuto at him. In fact, her personality is like that of a dimmed down version of Kenpachi. But as interesting as Ichika is, Kazui has far more potential as both a Shinigami and a vital component in the universe of Bleach. This is because during Bleach chapter 686, Kazui is seen confronting a hole, oozing out Yhwach's Ryotsu. Kazui sticks his hands into it and the Ryotsu then dissipates, seemingly being absorbed by him. This has massive implications and suggests a major connection between him and the Soul King. However, even without that, Kazui has already proven himself to be a Shinigami with incredible power, especially for his age. First of all, Kazui has incredible speed, as Hiyori, one of the Wizards, mentions how fast he was able to escape her field of vision. This means Kazui can keep up with the likes of a holified Shinigami. He can also manifest a fish spirit to ride on, as well as manifest his Shinigami powers at will, something even Ichigo couldn't do. When activating his powers, a Soul Reaper robe overtakes his normal clothes, and his Zanpakuto appears on his back. This sword hasn't been showcased yet, and Kazui is far too young to have awakened a Shikai or Bankai, but at this rate he's going, he might unlock it even earlier than Ichigo did. But Kazui's most important feat is the ability to open portals. By performing a ritual consisting of 3 claps, 2 bows, and another clap, Kazui is able to open a portal roughly the size of a person. We see him do this in the Hell one-shot, where he leads a lost soul into it. However, we don't know where exactly this portal leads to. What we do know is that it's filled with people. Looking at the architecture of the portal, we can see that it has teeth around it, almost looking like a mouth. This is very different from any portal open to Soul Society in the past, meaning Kazui is not opening a portal to Soul Society, rather some new realm we haven't seen before. And considering the name of the one-shot, there's only one place it could be. That's right, Kazui is able to open a portal to Hell itself.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
This makes him vital to the future of Bleach, as it's likely Ichigo, his friends and Gote 13 will have to make their way into the depths of Hell, and Kazui will act as the gateway. But you're probably wondering, what exactly is Hell in the Bleach universe? After all, it was only mentioned a few times during the initial run and was never important to the story. Well, that's what the Shinigamis thought, until a dark secret is revealed in the No Breath from Hell one-shot, where the upcoming villains of this arc may be their dead allies?
I'm confused right now, G.
Well, let me explain. We first need to understand how a soul enters Hell. As it stands, a Zanpakuto can only cleanse the sins of a soul during their actions as a hollow. But if that soul has committed heinous crimes, they are casted into Hell. This is seen with Espada number 8, whose name I am not going to pronounce, so let's call him Grants. But after dying, he was banished to this realm for his sins. And I'm talking about dying as an Espada, where later after entering Hell, his physique has been altered, as when we see his face, now he has new marks, and his hollow hole has become a ring behind his back. Hell also granted him new abilities, as he's now able to manipulate pitch black chains due to his new role as a jailer of Hell. But Hell doesn't only hold the sinful. In fact, it holds some of the most pure-hearted and courageous characters in all of Bleach, the deceased Gote 13 captains. That's right, characters such as Ukitake, Onohana, and even Yamamoto have been sent to Hell. And to make matters worse, it was at the hands of their own comrades. This is because it's tradition to perform a Shinigami ritual known as Konso Reisai, which occurs 12 years after a captain's death in battle. This ritual was started due to the fact that a captain's Ryotsu was so strong, not even Soul Society's soil can absorb it. So in order to disperse this reishi, the Shinigamis would capture a hollow and purify it at the captain's grave. But unknown to the members of the Gote 13, the true purpose of this ritual was to cast these captains into Hell. By entering this realm, these captains are given given titles based around their roles in life. An example of this is Yamamoto, who is given the title Founder of Gote, obviously due to his role in establishing Gote 13. Just like Arranca's, these captains are also heavily altered by Hell, as during their Hell one-shot, Ukitake intervenes between Ichigo and Espada number 8's fight. We don't see how his body has changed, but his sword is now significantly longer and larger. Ukitake casts Grands back into Hell, seemingly serving a role in this realm. Another thing, which is likely a speculation, once a captain is sent to Hell, their personalities become twisted and is shaped into a mindset where they will now serve and forever obey the will of the realm, as Hell has become their new master. In fact, it's quite similar to Soul Society, where balance is maintained by the balance of souls between Seretse and the world of the living. Hell's balance is based around the realm's own Ryatsu and that of the human realm and Soul Society. Grans states that Yhwach and Aizen's Ryatsu was so strong it held the maw of Hell shut, meaning no creature from this realm could escape it. Do you guys understand how big that is? Yhwach and Aizen are so strong that they alone kept the gates of Hell shut for centuries. It took one of them to die for Hell to be awakened. But with the death of the Soul King's son and captains with insane amounts of Ryatsu like Yamamoto and Unohana who entered Hell, the maws are now open. This is due to the shift of Ryatsu from one realm to the next, which all means that the inhabitants of Hell are now able to break free to the other side. Yep, Yhwach's death was just the start of something much bigger, and things are only going to get worse. But it's not just the deceased Arrancas and captains that the Gote 13 has to worry about. They also have to fight the Jigoku no Gaki, or in English, Beast of Hell. These are essentially Hell's own version of Hollows. Although emitting great strength, they do not possess any Ryatsu. But even so, if the Gote 13 were to face an army of these, it could, basically do, damage to Soul Society as a whole and the world of living. And yeah, you're probably thinking, surely that's it can't possibly get worse. Yeah, it can. It's also important to note that Ichigo and the others won't just be facing the captains we are familiar with, but rather 1,000 years of Gote 13 generations, as every captain has received their own Consorese, meaning they are all in Hell, waiting to confront those who put them there. This includes the first ever Gote 13, which were stated by Yhwach to be the strongest and most brutal Shinigamis in Soul Society history. So if you can't tell, this arc will be fire! Not only will we get to see an incredible cast of villains consisting of some of Bleach's strongest characters, but we'll also get to see just how far Gote 13 has come in the decades since the 1,000-year Blood War. This could be anyone from the captains, lieutenants, to even some of the minor characters, as well as obviously seeing new characters like Ichika and Kuzui's growth. We might also witness how some of these characters have mastered their Bankai, like Rukia and Kenpachi, and even see new Bankais altogether, like the newer captains such as Isana, the successor to Unohana. Ichigo could also become even stronger in this arc, perhaps having to accept his Quincy blood even more and learn how to use those powers to combat the force of Hell. But let's be honest here, we all know what we want to see. Ichigo's Bankai and what it actually does. Like, come on Kubo, give us that good shit. And above all, Aizen's Bankai.
Holy shit!
Yep, Aizen in Can't Fear Your Own World makes it clear he's banking on a Yhwach level threat, which will require Soul Society to come and get him once again, along with understand the truth about their world, and hopefully join with him to create a future under him. But there's even more. Old captains, Espada, Quincy's and other characters might be threatening, but the main villains of this arc could end up being someone far more powerful, a being that existed long before even the Soul King himself, the devil of Bleach. In episode 28 of the 1000-Year Blood War anime, we learn that the Soul King's name is Adonais. Now you're probably wondering what's so special about this. It's just a really cool name. Wrong. The name Adonais, though sounds like Adonai, the Hebrew word for God or Lord, it actually ties back to ancient Gnosticism, being the name of the Archon, which represents the sun who is responsible for keeping mortal souls bound to earth. This of course links perfectly with the Bleach's world, as Adonais is the heart of the three world which maintains the cycle of life and death, controlling all souls coming in and out of the world of the living, Wakamondo and Soul Society. It's this very reason, creating a world of life and death, which makes Yhwach despise his father, as he foresaw what kind of world he would make with the Almighty, one where his own son's people would be massacred by the Shinigamis. And that's why Yhwach wants to bring back the primordial world where death doesn't exist, to create what's in his mind a peaceful existence. But going back to the name Adonais, what does it actually tell us? Well, we now know that the super godlike characters in Bleach are related to Gnosticism, more specifically the Archons, or also known as rulers. So it would make sense for the Soul King's opposite, the devil, to derive from an Archon as well. And the only one that can really fit with what we know of Bleach's lore is Yaldabaoth. In Gnosticism, Yaldabaoth is a malevolent false god who traps souls in physical bodies. Now, whilst you could say this aligns more with the Soul King, creating the realities of life and death, it also makes sense for hell, as the devil, or Yaldabaoth, has essentially trapped the souls of these past Bleach characters in a demonic body within its own material realm, twisting them into horrors unlike we ever seen before, similar to what happened to Grunts and Oketake. Yaldabaoth himself is said to be an ugly creature, something depicted as a lion-headed serpent, twisted and imperfect, and I mean kind of the opposite of the Soul King. Like, his arms and limbs may be chopped off, but he is kind of, sexy.
Stop it. Get some help.
This devil's existence is further hinted during Yhwach's Oswalin speech at the royal palace, which is also the moment we first heard Adonais' name with the phrase Coffin of Adonais, obviously referring to the sealing and mutilation of the Soul King. A giant shadow far larger than Yhwach appears, with demonic horns and a weird menacing body. Perhaps the Oswalin is a demonic technique which requires Yhwach to rely on the power of this devil. But what I think is way more likely is that this is a visual representation of Yhwach being one of the seals that separates the devil and hell from entering the free realms. But as we all know, that seal is now broken, allowing perhaps the oldest entity in all of Bleach history to seep back into reality and bring it into chaos, perhaps wanting to swallow up Adonais' world and bring it into his own domain, as Yaldabaoth might believe himself to be the only true one ruler. In fact, this guy might be so powerful our main cast might not be able to defeat him, but instead need people of insane spiritual pressure to keep his seal at bay, like Ichigo and Aizen. But without Yhwach, that might be impossible, which leads us to Kazui. Like we mentioned earlier, Kazui was able to absorb Yhwach's extremely potent Ryatsu, which at this point has become the same level as the Soul King himself. This means Kazui is either one, Yhwach's reincarnation, or number two, the Soul King reborn, as nobody else has shown a feat like this in the series, not even Ichigo. And remember, Kazui was a baby when he did this. And along with serving as the gateway between the three realms and hell, Kazui might be one factor which is able to keep either the devil at bay or end his life entirely. And with every day, his Ryatsu would only get stronger and stronger for him to then serve as Yhwach's replacement as a major component of Hell's and Yaldabaoth's seal. And in turn, he might be able to free all the damned souls from Hell, returning them back to their normal lives. Regardless, Kubo has planted the seed for a conflict unlike anything we have seen before, where characters in Ichigo, the Gote 13 and even Aizen will come back to take on the horrors of Hell. But if you lot want to learn more about the next generation of Bleach and Gote 13, then make sure to watch this video next.